Pagoo, Chapter 15. Pagoo takes a shell, keeps it too. Pagoorus was growing. With every swish of incoming tide, with every gurgle of the ebb, he had grown a little bit. Tide in, tide out, there came a time when he molted again, flexed his muscles, and found his shell too tight. This good old periwinkle shell would not serve Pagoo much longer. Since this last molt, the little shell covered only about half of him. It was still a pair of trunks, but he could no longer withdraw behind his handy door to take a snooze. Once more Pagoo bumped into Tidepool Town, looking for a larger shell. All he had to do was to spot one the right size, and if he could get it no other way, he would fight for it. He'd take on any big bruiser. With his knobby new skin armor, he felt strong enough to lick anything. His larger size gave Pagoo this confidence. He still held his weapons ready, but he kept right on going and entered a seaweed alley. The light was dim. He stumbled over dumps of shells, but not a single one that he could use. He kicked into an empty chest, which had once been a fat crab, but a hungry gang had cleaned him out. Pagoo swaggered on, slapping at weeds with new red feelers. At a corner, he ran smack into the arms of the masked lady. He sidestepped, bowing as though begging her pardon, but backing away all the time. Watching this decorator don her mask out in the open was one thing. Here in the dark was another. And after all, she had a very long reach. And well, anyhow, he kept right on going. Yes, Pagoo was growing up, because he was still quite calm and collected after glimpsing around a bend, Big Head the Sculpin. Yes, sir, if you could see Big Head in time to dodge him and then come out of the thickets without weak knees wobbling and feelers trembling, you were getting along toward being a real man crab. Pagoo acted as though he realized all this. He walked with a spring in his step. He felt good, though a bit cramped in his shell. He stopped to gaze toward a glare of sunlight from an open square ahead. Small fry of the tide pool zipped past his legs, heading for cover. Torn weeds sailed overhead as though hurled from some big commotion. He felt, rather than heard, the collision and the clackety-clack of snail shells striking together. Over yonder was a hassle of hermits, or his name wasn't Pagoo, and he certainly meant to get into the fun. But here was that old character instinct again, and Pagoo had to listen. Nope, don't mix in it. You feel big, but what have you done to show that you are big? Let's see. You ran into a masked lady and walked away. You saw Big Head far off. You just managed to see him, and you scooted for cover. Now you're about to enter a tussle and offer to fight anybody? Don't do it, lad. You're half out of your shell already, and no door to rest behind in a pinch. Those boys are really big. Better wait. At least till you find yourself a good shell to sit in. After that, well... So Pagoo did not walk right over and leap into the fray. He skulked around the ring at the outside, dodging the spurts of sand shooting up from churning feet. It was quite a rough and tumble affair, and, as usual, old instinct was right. Oh, why, after every molting, did Pagoo feel big enough to lick the world? The fellows going at it here were husky. Pagoo would have been no match for them. He backed into a nook. Between two boulders, he was right on hand when a pile of battlers, plus some empty shells, rolled in a jumbled ball against the rocks nearby. In the confusion, a vacant shell, a wonderful, roomy, brown turban shell, lay before Pagoo. By all the rules, he ought to wait. He should grasp the wide opening and look in, like an old-timer grocer examining a barrel for bad apples. He should twist and twirl it around as though whirling the barrel to get a better light into the deep inside. He should use this feeler, that one, tapping and testing, reaching his arm in up to his shoulder. That's the way it is done in the best hermit circles, when there is time. Pagoo didn't have time, but he did have the big shell. And before the last owner could snatch it back, Pagoo was inside. Way inside. Certain it was, this shell was much too big for the likes of Pagoo, but he kept backing. The trouble was that the owner came backing in on top of him. Pagoo was being sat on. There was only one thing to do, and of course Pagoo did it. Since he had captured this shell fairly, nobody was going to squat down on him and not know it. In quiet rage, Pagoo reached his big pincher forward, took careful aim, and clamped down hard. The other hermit uttered no sound, of course, but he whooshed out of there like a rocket just touched off. His rear must have ached, his pride must have been hurt. At any rate, he barged through the arena, bowling shells over right and left. He went away for good into the shadows, leaving Pagoo with a too large home to rattle around in. Pagoo did not seem to mind that his home was too large. Some of the rowdy gangs bothered him at first. At any hour, day or night, characters came to his wide doorways, thinking the turban shell was empty. He had a few fights, and won them too, teaching the local toughs not to meddle. He hung out a "This House Taken" sign, his feelers. When he slid far forward, the end of his feelers warned others away. Getting around with this barn trailing behind was quite a chore. Pagoo was always on the lookout for a better fitting shell, but none turned up. So he just sat around, rested, ate, and grew. Inside his home, Pagoo felt safe. His big right claw plus his small left almost fitted the brown turban's curving hallway far inside. Tides washed in, leaving the tide pool town with several feet of sparkling cold water, bubbling with snow-white foam. The next time he molted, Pagoo did the whole job safely inside his shell and kicked his old clothes out of the door. After that, when the wrinkles of his new skin filled in and his new crust hardened, he had a pleasant surprise. He did not have to go looking for a new home. He had grown to fit this one.